Everyone. So today's topic of discussion is how we can use Mongoose in our Node.js application, or like how we can use Mongoose for creating models and inserting data in our application. So what I am going to do is I am simply going to create a new folder over here. So I'm going to say this is a server folder, and in this I am going to simply create a file server.js. So going through the video, I will be showing you how we can implement Mongoose with MongoDB as an API. So first of all, very important thing to do is like load the Mongoose package. So I am just going to navigate over here, and I am going to say npm install Mongoose, and I want to save it in my dependencies. So as soon as I hit this button, it will start installing my package. So let's head back to Visual Studio Code and start coding. So what I am going to do over here is I am going to simply create a variable mongoose is equal to require mongoose. So once I have done this, what I need to do is I need to create a connection. So I am going to say mongoose.connection, and I am simply going to pass this MongoDB URL localhost slash, this is going to be port number 27017, and I need to give my database name. So my database name over here is user, so I am saying I am going to use user, right? So once I have done this, I also need to make sure that I am setting the mongoose.promise to global.promise because I would be using promises in my application. So here I have created a variable called mongoose, and I have assigned mongoose.promise to global.promise, and also I have created the connection to it. So after doing this, what I will do is I will create a model which we can use to insert data in our application. So this model is basically going to be a collection. So I can say like where let's say user info, and I am going to say this as mongoose dot model. So this is how we declare a model. The first thing which we need to pass over here is the name of the collection, which is going to be user info, right? So inside this I am going to decide what all things I need. So the first thing that I need is the first name of the user. So I am going to say first name. Also I will be requiring the last name, as well I'm going to take the age of the user, right? Let's take one more property. Let's say status. So I will say status. So now once I have declared this variables, what I can do is like I can define what type it should be. So first name should always be a type of string, right? Also for last name I am going to use the type string. For age I will be using the type number. And for status I will use the type as boolean. Also I want to set some properties like first name should never be null. So what I can do is like I can set a property of min length. Let's say min length to 1. So it will always have a string with which length is at least 1. Also I want to use the trim property so that everything is trimmed applications. The same way I am going to copy this to over here, right? So by default what I want to do is like I want to set the status to be false, since like it will always be false the first time. Also I will make sure that the required property is set to true, so that I will get an error message if someone tries to submit first name without any value. So this is like what I have created a user info model. So now what I will do is I will create a new variable. So let's say new user db, or let's say where new user, right? So what I will do over here is let's use camel casing over here. So what I will do over here is I will say new user is equal to new user info, and over here I will be passing some properties that is like first name. So let me pass this as Alan. After that I will pass here last name. Let's say it's Baker. I will pass age as, or let's do one thing, we will leave the age property, so we don't need to pass it. Age and status we can leave it. Status has got a default value of false and age will be passed as 0 because it's a number. So now that I have created this new user, what I will say is I will say new user dot save, and it should be save my data in MongoDB. So what I'm expecting is it will return me some promise. So I will say I have got some doc or document which will be returned. So I am saying that please show me that document, console.log doc. Also the second value that will be passed will be like error, and we can say over here console.log error, passing in some err, right? So this is like a very basic implementation of how we can use Mongoose and insert data in our application. So if I try to run this application, so let's say node server.js. So if I do this, I see that status was set to false because it's the default value. First name was Alan, last name was Baker, right? So let's confirm this in our database. So I moved in my user database. I'm going to refresh it. I've got user infos, and if I view the document over here, I can see this document. So here we can see that status was set to false. First name was Alan, Baker, last name was Baker. So this is how we can create a very simple Mongoose connection with MongoDB and use it in our node application. Now let's do one thing. What I will do is I will create a folder in my models. So let's separate our models in a new file. I am going to say this is my user info model. So I will say user info dot js. So I am going to copy this. I will cut it and I am going to paste it over here. So I need the mongoose variable over here also. So I will say where mongoose is equal to require mongoose, correct. Also I will be saying that I need to export this module dot exports is equal to I will be exporting this user info, correct. So now head back to our server.js file, and over here I can say where or let's say const user info is equal to require let's go one root level up. I'm going to say this is in my models folder and this is user info. So I need to put so now I have separated my logic in a separate folder. So let's try to run this again and see what happens. So this time what I will do is I will change this name to Prashant, and I will say this is Kumar, and let's start this application. So it is saying me that it is not able to find this module. So let's try to see what happened over here. So I am over here in user info, so I am going one level up. One level up would be this dot slash. After that, 2 levels, 1 2. So I am in this root folder, so this should be like server slash models and user info. So let's try again running our application. So here we go, we can see that we have successfully created a new document. Thanks for watching the video. Have a great day.